right, let's get this thing off of here. And let's do, there we go. All right. So, hi everybody. It is Sunday night, and I was going to come down and record something. I said, you know what, let me just do like a little live stream thing. So that's what I am doing here. So what I'm going to do is record something that I'm going to upload later tonight. If the stream holds up, maybe I'll just let this thing be the video. But I got a ton of people writing in about this Plex thing, about how to get Plex to work with Premium TV from HDHomerun. So I thought what I would do is show you how to do it. And actually, it's not as, I explained how to do it in the original video, but it does require some degree of heavy lifting to get it implemented. And I'll show you what the complexity is at the moment, but I think they're going to be changing that around shortly. But let me see what we've got here for any questions yet. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just record this thing, and then I will come back and look at your questions after I go through all this, just so that I can kind of get a good clean take here that I can upload a little bit later. So I just kind of came down here. I'm just all disheveled because it's been Sunday, had a nice weekend, you know, hanging out with the family, and everybody's to bed. Everyone went to bed. Everyone's sleeping or trying to sleep, so it's good. So I think I can get this done real quick. So what we're going to do here is hit record on my TriCaster, and let me get set up here. I'm going to record this real quick, and then I'll take questions and that kind of thing. So it's going to be kind of weird because I'll be doing my usual shtick, and then you'll then interact with me after that. So let me get this going here. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back once again with the HDHomerun Premium TV update. I think I'll do that one more time. I didn't like that one. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back with the... One more time. 3, 2, 1. By the way, this is my usual process. I do this over and over again. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back with the HDHomerun Premium TV because a lot of you were curious about how to get Plex to work with it properly, and I explained it kind of in the video I did a couple of days ago, but it is a little more involved than just doing one thing. You've got to actually do some additional configuration to bring in the Premium TV channels along with your current over-the-air channels. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the other day, HDHomerun Silicon Dust... one more time. Let me start this one more time here. Now you can see how the sausage is made here. So I don't use a script or a teleprompter, so I just kind of wing it. And then I get into the weeds and I stop and re-record. So I'm going to do this one more time, and you can see what my workflow is with this stuff. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we are back once again with the HDHomerun Premium TV. I covered this a couple of days ago on the channel, and a lot of you were curious about getting Plex to work with it. So what we're going to do in this video is walk through the steps to set up Plex. It is not difficult, but it is going to take some time, and you do need to make sure you know what you're recording because unfortunately it looks like at the moment at any rate you have to kind of reconfigure your entire DVR to get those cable channels brought in. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, HDHomerun Premium TV launched over the weekend. What it's doing is allowing you to use your over-the-air HDHomerun tuner to bring in cable channels over a service that they launched, which now will cost you... I'm still not there. Let me try it one more time here. Oh, thank you. I'm DeBrown. Good to see you. Thank you for your super chat contribution there. It's greatly appreciated. I'm going to start this one more time. And it's Sunday night, so like mentally I'm just not into this yet, so I need to try one more take on this, and we'll go from there. All right, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back with the HDHomerun Premium TV service. We covered this a couple of days ago. It's a new thing that's being offered by Silicon Dust, the makers of the HDHomerun. And if you have an over-the-air box, like the Quattro tuner or the Duo tuner, you can get your over-the-air content with your antenna, but now you can subscribe to their service for $34.99 a month and bring in a bunch of cable channels as well. Definitely check out that original video because that will give you all the details about what we're going to be talking about here. But I did get a lot of questions about Plex in the original video, and I kind of touched on Plex in that video and showed you how it works, but not how to set it up, especially if you already have the Plex DVR in operation. Now, one of the cool things about the HDHomerun Premium TV service is that it works with more than just the Silicon Dust HDHomerun software. You can use it with Plex, with the Channels app, and a bunch of other stuff as well. But there is, on Plex at least, some configuration that you have to think about and spend some time doing at the moment to get everything working, although my understanding is that everything you're about to see here should be fixed or corrected sometime in the near future. So this is kind of an immediate issue, but I think over time this will get a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is boot up Plex here and show you how all of this works. But I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that Silicon Dust, the makers of the HDHomerun, are an occasional sponsor here on the channel. They are not sponsoring this video, however, and I always like to say that I was a client of theirs long before they became a client of mine. I use their stuff here all the time to save money on cable subscription costs, so it's been a big help here. But all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody's paying for this video, and no one has reviewed or approved this before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see how we can get Plex working with our premium TV service. All right, that take worked, I think. Let me know what you thought of that. Usually I've got James or Corey here, so they usually give me the peanut gallery response to that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to just wait for my TriCaster to catch up here. I'm going to log that clip in. I would love to show you. Oh, I got an ant. I have an ant on the desk. Oh my goodness. One of the problems in the basement here is that you have bugs and other things that come into play. What I should show you, actually, is my TriCaster setup, so you can see what I look at. And I can do this really cool thing with my phone, if my battery holds out. I can hit this button here, and I can get an NDI source on input 8. So let's hit input 8 real quick. Boom, look at that. This is my phone, but I can bring it in like any other source. Let me just get this focused here. So this is what I see when I'm working on videos. And what I did was I recorded, so I can hit R here, and that'll start the recorder. And I can stop it there. And then I add the clip down here, and this is all the clips that I did. So over here is all the stuff I shot the other day. And what I do here is I log them into what's essentially like a little video playback thing here. And then when I'm done, I copy them to like a little portable SSD, and then we use that for editing later. So that's how we usually do the process here. So I'm just kind of logging these clips, get everything recorded, and then I move on to the next part of the shoot there. So that's how that all works. And Traveling Tech, I know this is actually the TriCaster. This is what I do my real-time recording with. So one of my tricks here, I use Final Cut for editing, but one of my tricks here is that I record basically live to disk. So I don't have to edit in B-roll or anything later usually. Usually I'm shooting everything live. So what you saw streaming out was also being recorded onto my TriCaster for later views there. So that is how that works. All right, so I know you all came here to see something, so let's go over to Plex now. And I'm going to pull up my Plex screen here, and then I'll start recording again. And I'll get to your questions after I finish this little thing here. So what I'm going to do now is hit record. 3, 2, and do it one more time. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. So here we are on the Plex settings, and I'm over on the live TV and DVR section here. And we've got my HDHomerun Quattro detected on the network, and you can see it's found 55 channels, but only 11 are enabled. And if I click on this to see what my options are, you can see that it was able to match up a bunch of my local over-the-air broadcasts. You can see I don't get all that much here. But all these cable channels are dark. Now I could select CNN here, for example, and then match it up. But because I did not tell Plex when I first set it up that I'm using a cable system, it doesn't know what to do with CNN. So I could add it here, but it won't get any guide data. And this is the bad part right now about how Plex is working with the service, is that you do have to delete your DVR, as far as I can tell, and start over. There does not appear to be a way to change what it is looking at for its guide data, which would make it a lot easier, of course, if that was the case. So what I'm going to do here is delete the DVR and pay close attention to the warning here. So what's going to happen is you're going to lose all of your scheduled recordings and the guide data. Now, obviously, the guide data is not a big deal, but you definitely want to make note of all the important things that you want to record, because we have to basically put them back in after we do this, unfortunately. So just bear that in mind. Again, I think they're going to come up with an update that will make this a smoother transition in the near future. But the reason why you have to do this is because in the past, you could buy an HDHomerun Prime, which was cable only, and if you wanted over-the-air, you bought the over-the-air antenna, and Plex doesn't really know how to separate the two things or bifurcate them into this one guide here. So this is why we have to do this. So we're going to delete the DVR, and now we're going to basically just start over again. So I'm going to say set up Plex DVR. It found my tuner here. I'm going to click on continue. And you can see here it's got all the channels that it can see, which includes the cable channels. But instead of selecting antenna, I'm going to select cable. And I'm going to click continue. And I'm going to give it a nearby zip code here. And I'll click continue again. And now what it's going to do is try to, as best it can, match up things. We're still going to have to do a bunch of mapping on this when it's done. So basically what we're doing is we're telling Plex that we are connected to a cable system, even though we have some over-the-air channels. And those over-the-air channels will have to manually map to their cable equivalents. But when we do that, we should be in good shape. So you can see here it's got a couple things wrong already. So Ion Life is mapping to just the lifetime channel. So we have to go through here and just make sure we find what all of the right channels are. And I'm not sure if this might be one of those digital sideband channels. So you have to kind of go through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now. But I know Ion here can be found on some of my early listings here. So let's go and find Ion, wherever it might be on the list. And you can see this might be a little tedious when you first get going here. But basically what I'm doing here is just finding the cable channel that Ion is on. And let me see if I can go through the rest of it here and find it. I may do a jump cut here for you all just so not to drag it out. Okay, I'm going to take that part up here. So now what I'm going to do is I found where Ion is, and I'm going to kind of make this work a little better. So you're going to hear me play this back now. Let me turn off my mic for a second. Three, two, one. Guide here. So this is why we have to do this. So we're going to delete the DVR, and now we're going to basically just start over again. So I'm going to say, I'm going to click continue, and I'm going to do is try to, as best it can, we'll have to manually map to their So basically what we're doing is we're telling Plex that we are connected to a cable system, even though we have some over-the-air channels. And those over-the-air channels will have to manually map to their cable equivalents. But when we do that, we should be in good shape. So you can see here it's got a couple things wrong already. So Ion Life is mapping to just the lifetime channel. So we have to go through here and just make sure we find what all of the right channels are. And I'm not sure if this might be one of those digital sideband channels. So you have to kind of go through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now, but I know with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now, but I know. Test. All right. Let me turn this off. So what I'm doing here is I'm just finding a good out point, because I don't want to just drag this out and have the recording be really boring. So what I'm doing right there is finding a good spot where I can cut and then bring in a new clip and make that flow a little better. So that's what I'm doing there. So I do all of this when I record my videos normally. So you're kind of seeing my workflow in action here. So all right, so I'm just going to play that back one more time. One of those digital sideband channels. So you have to kind of go through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now, but I know. Test. Okay, so, and I say test just to make sure I know that my system's getting audio here. I can see the audio things bouncing away there. So let's go through here. Now it looks like Comcast, by the way, is once again messing up my my stream health. So this stream may or may not last all that long. This happens every time we do this, everybody. It's just crazy. So by the way, I called Comcast up and I said, hey, you know, what do you got for faster upload speeds? And the answer was, what you got at 10 or 12 megabits and crappy throughput is all we have for you right now. So I'm guessing the gigabit is coming here at some point. That'll bring me to 35 megabits per second upstream, which is better than what I have now because I only have 10 or 12 depending on what's going on. And then I hung up and I called the business department just to see what they had. They could give me 30 megabits per second right now with slower downstream. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They could give me gigabit down now, 30 megabits per second up for $400 a month, which is crazy. So I'm stuck with what I got here, unfortunately. All right, so let me go back over to this part here, and we're going to pick up where we left off on this. And I'll explain everything to everybody in one swoop after I'm done with this recording here. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. But there are a few networks that I can find relatively quickly here. So, for example, ION I know is channel 20 on my cable system here, so I'll match that one up there. The home shopping channel here looks pretty obvious, so I can match that one up. So you get the idea. You just have to go through and just find every one of these. This one, it got correct. The HSN network is matching up correctly. For some reason, though, it's associating justice with juicy, whatever that is. So maybe we want to turn that one off so we don't upset the family here. But again, I just have to go back through and find what matches up with these. And these two, I believe, are correct. Actually, these two are not correct, so I need to go back in and find those as well. So you basically, again, just have to go through, find the matching channel, and sometimes it's going to be hard to do that because the cable system may, I'm not liking how that's working here. Let me go back up to the top here. That juicy thing was funny, so I'm going to leave that in and come back. All right, one more time. All right. This is my workflow. I just kind of go through. I'm like, I don't like the way that's coming out. I'm going to stop that, redo it, and sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 hours sitting here just to get it right. So, all right, so let's hit the record button again. 3, 2, 1. But I do know, for example, where my ION channel is on the lineup here, so I can go over to ION, and that's matching up here with channel 20, so we'll let that one go. This shopping channel is, I think, something other than HSN. So I'm just going to uncheck that now, and I'll match that one up a little bit later. HSN, it did get correct. Still not there. One more time. Okay, 3, 2. That's right, folks. This is how the sausage is made here on the channel. All right, 3, 2, 1. But I do know where my ION. 3, 2, 1. But I do know where ION is located on my lineup, so that one will be an easy match here. So I'm going to click on 26.1. and then go over to channel 20 on my cable system. And again, we're basically kind of fooling Plex into thinking we have a regular cable connection. So what will happen is that if we ask Plex to record something off of ION, it's going to go to 26.1 on the HDHomerun tuner. So even though that's an over-the-air broadcast and not a cable broadcast, as far as Plex is concerned, this channel equals that one, so we're good. And then you have to go through each of these and just kind of match them up to make sure everything is correct. I found that the matching here is not so great, and that's to be understood because, again, we're matching over the air to cable. So for example here, this channel that calls itself Justice on 67.1 over the air is matching up with Juicy, whatever that is. We're going to turn that one off just to make sure we don't have anything happen there. And then again, I can go through the rest of these and just match them up to the proper affiliate as I'm putting things together. But what you will see is that the cable channels did largely line up, but I noticed that it's not pairing up directly with the HD version of those cable networks. So I'm going to leave it as is just to see what happens because it is giving me the HD next to it, so I have a feeling this should work fine when we're done. So I'm going to click on Continue here, and that will map everything up. The good news is that you can come back to this and remap if you get something wrong. So although we had to start from scratch on getting this set up in the first place, once you tell Plex you have a cable system, you can go back in and adjust the lineup anytime you want. So you don't have to delete and start over again to get this to work. So now it looks like setup is complete, and it's going to start initializing and creating a new guide. So we're going to let that run in the background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like. All right, so let's add that one to the mix. That came out better. And I'll try to catch up on some comments here also. And let's see where we go. So I'm going to check out your comments here. I didn't lose 100 pounds. Somebody was asking about my diet. No, I didn't lose 100 pounds. I lost about 40. So that was about six or 7 years ago. And I'm keeping it off for the most part. You got to be disciplined on it. So let's see what we got. Style Freaks wants to know, if we don't want those channels, can we remove them? Yes. So what you can do to do that is, let me show you where to find this. So if you go to my.hdhomerun.com, it's going to pull up a screen that looks like what you see here. And what you can do is go over to your HDHomerun device. You go to channel lineup. And if you don't want these cable networks on here, so for example, I nixed ESPN just in the video that I did before. And you can just double click these. So when you click start, it makes it a favorite. Some apps allow you to have your favorites organized. But if you click it again, it will exit out. And my understanding is that they're updating their firmware, so soon that will be something where you'll have a more distinct way to get rid of those demo channels. So I can get rid of all of the sports channels if I wanted to, or vice versa, whatever you wanted to do. You can just X them out that way, so that'll get rid of that. So let's take some more questions here. Let's see. Xbox wants to know what make and model of the TriCaster I have. This is the TriCaster Mini, and it's actually 4 years old now, so I'm getting nervous that it might have a hard drive die at some point in the future. So I might have it serviced and change out the hard drive and put an SSD in or something. I could probably do it myself. It's out of warranty at this point, so I might do that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm having trouble with the keys on this one too. Somebody's asking about the keys on my MacBook, and yes, I have some significant problems with the keys on this thing. Adrian wants to know, do you need the Premium TV to be active to see the channels in the DVR setup for Plex? So I think this answer hopefully will answer your question. So what you have to do on Plex is you've got to go back into the channel scan after, even though your HDHomerun may have the channels, I think Plex needs to ping the HDHomerun to get those. So you need to run that. You should then see the additional channels added onto it. But just remember that you have to delete the DVR and start over again if you were configured previously as an over-the-air channel guide at the moment. Let's see here. So Big Trucker wants to know where the new Prime is. I don't know yet. I don't have any information on that, unfortunately. So we'll have to keep pinging them and see what goes on. They did mention it in the release for this to say that it's still in process. So it's not happening. It's just not happening yet. And I'm waiting for it too. So that is it. So which version of the HDHomerun does this work on? So this will work on the Generation 4 boxes and then the Generation 5 boxes, which are the new ones. And then if you have the HDHomerun Extend, which does the transcoding, I believe both versions of that, there was a plastic one with a fan and a metal one, I think both of those work with this too. And you'll know it works because when you do the firmware update for your box, you're going to get all the demo channels on by default. So those, I'll pull it up here on my HDHomerun app. By the way, you don't have to do anything I'm doing here with the HDHomerun app. Once you do the update, everything just kind of comes in. So let's switch back over here real quick. So what will happen on the HDHomerun app here is you'll have all of your over-the-air stuff. So you can see I've got the 67.1 and all that. And then as you scroll down, you will get all this stuff here. So that is how that works. All right, so let's kill this real quick, and we're going to go back over to Plex, and we'll see how we're doing on the channel guides. I think we've got enough of a channel guide here now to make sure this is working. So I'm going to pop back over to Home, and we'll go to the guide. I really like how they now have the grid channel guide here. There's that ant again. Let me get that ant out of here. Where's my paper towel I had here for him? There he is. Sorry, folks, I've got a computer bug. I don't know if you can see him. Here he is. There he goes. All right, we'll flush him a little later. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to go turn on Shark Tank here on CNBC, I didn't know CNBC had Shark Tank. Maybe they're running reruns here. So I'll click play here, and hopefully that will work. Now, this is, of course, going through my NAS device over there that's currently running. So I found with Plex, sometimes it takes a minute for it to get everything queued up here for... I think it's still transcoding. We'll take a look at that too and see. So there we go. So that's running just fine. And what I'm going to do real quick is minimize that. I'm curious if it transcodes, and we'll find out by looking here. Let me give you a closer view of that. Yeah, so it is doing some transcoding, surprisingly. So, and this is kind of low bitrate video that they're using for Premium TV, but it looks like Plex is transcoding it anyhow. So maybe there's some, maybe might just be the nature of how the live TV works with Plex, but it is transcoding that. And it looks like we're having a little bit of issues tonight with it. It was working fine when I did the video. What's happening here too is I set up a kind of a little network within a network for this because I couldn't have this running on my local network because I have an HDHomerun Prime already. Everything we get kind of screwed up. So I set up a second network that's kind of detached from the other one. So I'm sure something is not functioning properly with that, but that's that. All right, so Rice Edwards loves the live stuff. I like doing the live stuff too. Sunday night's a good time to do it. I might look at doing more Sunday night because it looks like I'm getting more people in tonight. Let's see. Ronald Best pays for PlayStation View. There's a lot of, it's good there's choices now. I think that's what's really important is that people can have a choice of provider if they want. For me, I still use Comcast and the Prime primarily because I can't get anything over the air. As you saw when we did the over the air a few minutes ago, I get, there's this one tower that's about 30 minutes that way that I can pick up. But where I am, for some reason, I just don't get anything. I think if I put an antenna like up on the roof and then up on an aerial, I probably might get more than I get. But looking at the website that people look at, I forgot the Antenna Web or whatever it is, I don't get all of my networks here. So even if I had the biggest antenna, I wouldn't get everything. So it just doesn't work great for me. So right now what I've got is the standard Comcast package. So like the basic digital package. And what's nice about having the HDHomerun Prime is that you get the cable card from them. Now where I am, I get a credit. So I get a $2.50 per month credit on my bill for using the cable card. So that plugs into the Prime. I have no other Comcast equipment in the house. I don't have a cable modem from them. I don't have any cable boxes from them. Basically, I could even show you. It's kind of a mess in there. How about I show you? That might be kind of fun. So let's pull up my NDI camera here again. And I'll go to camera 8, and I'll take you inside, and I'll show you exactly how all this works. And hopefully I won't hurt myself along the way. So this is my equipment room. And so this is my incoming cable right here. And one of these wires goes into the cable modem, and you can see there's a splitter here. So the other one goes over, I got to move it off the floor, but this is where my Prime is located right now, is on the floor. And the cable card is inside of that, as you can see. And that just feeds right into the rest of my networking stuff. This is getting cleaned up shortly. And off it goes. So that's pretty much the whole process. And as a result, I don't need any of the other coax in the house anymore. So what I've done is I'm basically just using Mocha. I'll get that back in focus here. That's one of my Action Tech adapters. I'm using Mocha to use my coax as network extensions because I can get a full gigabit over these Mocha adapters. So whenever I need Ethernet somewhere, I can just pop into any of the gazillion cable jacks I have around the house, and I'm off and running. So what's nice about this is that it really, you have no other Comcast equipment. I own the modem. I own that. Get the cable card thing going on, and that's how it works. It's a pretty good deal. Pardon the mess. We've been so busy here that I have just been going from one project to the next. So this week, I hope to do some cleanup there. So that is that. D-Bets wants me to go back to the splitter. Actually, you know what they had to do here? This is what's crazy, is that my cable signal here is so good that they had to like power it down. They had to put in a little thing that kind of depowers or de-amplifies the signal. So a lot of times people need an amplifier. I had to get my signal kind of split and stepped down because it was too strong, and I was having problems with data and whatnot. So it was kind of funny that they did that. All right, let's go back to Plex here. Let's finish up the video so that I can get this uploaded tonight, because I want to get this up tonight before I go to bed. So let's go back home, and we'll go to the guide. And I think what I want to do here is, yeah, so Ion is good. So let's play Ion real quick. I'll cut over to this real quick and make sure that that works. And again, this is now over the air, provided my antenna is okay over there, yeah. So this is an over the air channel. And then, yeah, Plex is not cooperating tonight. Let's see. There it goes. So this is an over-the-air channel. So this is MPEG-2 getting transcoded. I believe that's, let's make sure that's what's happening. Let's go back to here. Yep, so there we go. We got MPEG-2 to H.264. So that we know is coming over the air. And we're good. All right, so I'm going to go back and run another cut there. So let's go home, go to guide. And we'll pick this up on that shot there. Test. All right, and let's see if anybody has any good questions for me. Let's see. So Tony says, I can't believe they're getting all these channels DRM free legally. And here's what's funny about this, is that the Premium TV service works just like my Prime does, in that all the stuff that I demoed in that Premium TV video, I've been doing on my Prime for the last 4 years. And that's because Comcast doesn't DRM most of the channels on my lineup. So they do DRM HBO. But everything else, when I record it onto my NAS in there, I can watch it anywhere. So a lot of times if I'm away from home, what I can do is pop into Plex and then watch my DVR recordings via Plex, even though I do most of it via the HDHomerun app. So one of the cool things about these files being portable is that for me, I just prefer the HDHomerun DVR to Plex. It's just personal preference, really. But what's nice about it is that when I am away from home, because the HDHomerun stuff doesn't work outside of the house, I can just load up Plex on my phone or computer or whatever and watch all those recordings or download them or whatever. So I never miss anything when I'm on the road. It works really, really well. And yes, DBet says it's an attenuator. That's exactly what they put on there. So. Eric Bazinga said he'd love to help me clean the room. I would love to have somebody come here that actually likes to clean up. That would be great. So, all right. Manny wants to know if I can explain Mocha in more detail. I have a bunch of videos. In fact, you can go to Lon.TV/Mocha and see a whole bunch of stuff on that. We've covered that quite a bit. And they've done some sponsorships here on the channel, too. What I found with Mocha is that it is the best, and I mean this, the best network extension you can get because it runs at full speed. The Mocha 2.0 bonded adapters will run at pretty much gigabit Ethernet speed. And what's crazy is in my house, when they built this house is about 14 years old. They put 2 cable jacks in every single room in this house. And the real crazy thing, and this is not a good thing, is that they have a single line coming from down here to the 2nd floor. And there's probably, I kid you not, there's probably 30 cable jacks upstairs because some of the rooms have more than 2 jacks in them. And they split them in every room. So you've got like one thing going upstairs, it goes to like a 6-way splitter, and then all of those runs are split 2 or 3 times throughout the thing. So you get to a point where there's no signal at all, because every time you split cable, you basically drop the signal in half. And surprisingly, and I kid you not, surprisingly, the Mocha works fine, even in the farthest room in the house with all of those splits going on. It's remarkable how good it works. So I think part of it might be that it obviously is doing its own amplification. We're not sending it as far, perhaps, but whatever, it works great. And I had this DVR set up. I just was putting it up in the spare bedroom on the way opposite end of the house to try to get a better signal. And it was working fine with Mocha. Everything was just going right through. It's good stuff. All right. Let's get, so let me get this done and I'll take some more questions. So, because I could just blah, 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 all night, and we gotta get this video done and uploaded. Maybe I'll get my other computer and we'll edit and upload it while I have you all watching here. Okay, so let's go and do this part now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now we've got a channel guide up here on Plex, and I'll get you a better view of it here. And what we've got, for example, is that Ion is in the lineup along with all of these cable channels, but Ion is actually an over-the-air network. But as far as Plex is concerned right now, this is fine because it knows to go to the HDHomerun and request that network. And because we mapped this channel to the cable channel inside of Plex, it doesn't matter. It's getting complicated. So one of the things is that sometimes these things get kind of complex or confusing, and I try to make it so it's not confusing. So I didn't think I properly did that here. So let's try this one more time and get this right. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. So here we are inside of Plex and looking at the channel guide, and I want to draw your attention, let me get you a better view here, draw your attention to Lon.TV, because you remember this is one of the channels that we mapped from the over-the-air portion of our HDHomerun tuner, but it's showing up in here right alongside all of the other cable networks that are coming in over Premium TV. So even though Plex thinks we're connected to a cable system, because we did that mapping where we said this channel is this one on the HDHomerun, it's going to tune this over-the-air channel alongside all of these cable channels. So if I go over here to play, that should pop right up, and we'll be able to validate that this is in fact over the air here in a second. So Ion is coming up right now. It does transcode because this is an MPEG-2 broadcast, so we'll just give it a second here to catch up. My NAS is misbehaving this evening, so it's a little slower than it usually is with Plex. But there we go. We're up and running here, and this is, again, coming in over the air. And what I'll do is just go over to my activity monitor here, and you can see we are transcoding MPEG-2 to H.264. So that tells me, because most broadcasts are in MPEG-2 right now, that we are getting the right broadcast here. So that works fine. So let's kill that one, and I'll go back again, and we'll take a look now at a cable channel. So maybe we'll pull up what's going on ESPN. Actually, I'm not going to do that one because of all the copyright stuff. Let's pull up USA and see how that one is looking here. So we'll pull that one up. And yes, I got to clean the screen here, I know. And we'll see how this one works. And there we go. USA is coming up. And as that queues up, we'll check on the transcoder status. I did find that it is transcoding even the HDHomerun broadcast coming in from the premium service. It shouldn't have to do that, but I wonder if it's just a function of how Plex handles live TV. But you can see it's running down here in the corner. Everything is working fine, and we're transcoding that H.264 to H.264. So that's really what you do here is you got to go into that setting there and make all of these adjustments, get all these channels mapped up, and then once you're done, you're done. Plex will think you're connected to cable, but again, so long as you map your over-the-air broadcast to what your cable channel has for that over-the-air channel, everything should work fine. The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go. I'll also show you, too, if we go back into the settings here, that we can actually, let me go over to server real quick, we can actually do this after the, let me start this one more time. All right, let me go back to this thing here. So I'm going to just play this back real quick and get a good out portion there. And what I usually do is I have just a couple, I string these clips together as I go, and I try to not do too much in one clip, partly because I like to put those markers in at the bottom. But also, if I have a good take, I don't want to ruin it by continuing on and then forgetting where I left off. So what I usually do here is add in the next thing. I'm scrubbing through this right now, so let me pull this up so you can see what I'm looking at here. I'm going to mute my mic so I can play this back and hear it. This one works, and there we go. You know how Plex handles live TV. But you can see it's running down here in the corner. Everything is working fine, and we're transcoding that H.264 to H.264. So that's really what you do here is you got to go into that setting there and make all of these adjustments, get all these channels mapped up, and then once you're done, you're done. Plex will think you're connected to cable, but again, so long as you map your over-the-air broadcast to what your cable channel has for that over-the-air channel, everything should work fine. The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go. What we're going to do, let me get this muted here again, is I'm going to go to, let's kill this here, and we'll go back to the DVR setup, because what you can do is after, if you want to change it after the fact, what you do is you click on this right here. This is the other thing that was confusing is that you've got a gear here, but this is the one you need to click on. It's kind of confusing there. You can add additional tuners. My understanding is that Plex isn't mixing and matching two different guide datas here. So what's happening is that you've got a hierarchy. So the first thing in the hierarchy is the kind of broadcast that you're bringing in globally for all of Plex, and then the tuners are underneath it. So you could add more over-the-air tuners, but you couldn't add an HDHomerun Prime to this setup, for example, because it would get confused by the guide data. So right now it looks like for Plex at least you've got to use one kind of tuner or the other, and this is kind of a little hacky workaround to make the Premium TV service work with it. All right, so I'm going to go over here and talk about how you can come back and fix this later. So let's go record. 3, 2, 1. Now you can go back to this and adjust the channel guide later, as I mentioned. So what you'll do, rather than delete and start over again, is you go over to where it tells you the number of channels and how many are enabled. Now you've got a gear here, a gear there. Don't click either one of those. There are two different settings options inside of this window, but this is the one right here that you want. And if you click on this, you'll have exactly the same interface we saw before. So you can go back in and match everything up again and get all of your channels mapped appropriately. Remember, you'll probably spend some time on this trying to figure out which channel goes with what cable network. So you'll take a little bit of time here just getting that to go. But once you're done, you save it. You can move on, and hopefully everything will work. So that is how you get Plex to work at the moment. I do believe, again, that they're going to be updating this so that it will accommodate the Premium TV without having to do what we're doing here. So when that happens, I will let you know through some kind of notification, maybe a community post on my channel there. But in the meantime, this is how you have to do it for now. So remember, before you click on that delete DVR, make sure you have a list of all of the recording tasks that you are currently doing so you don't lose them or lose recordings, because you do have to set them up again after you do this. But after that, you should be fine. It will continue to work, and you'll get the best of both worlds, both over the air and cable broadcasts. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, that's done, and I might go get my laptop if you all want to see how I edit this stuff. That might be kind of fun to do. I've done an edit once before on a live stream, but I haven't done one in a while. So this might be kind of fun to see the whole workflow. So let's see. Well, thank you, WizTech, for your super chat contribution. So a couple other questions people have been having. So I've been seeing a lot of questions about pay-per-view. You don't have that, or on demand. You also don't have the ability to log into some of these channels off-site. So for example, if ESPN lets you do that with your cable system now, you can't do it on here. At least through Premium TV. But if you have Plex, you can use Plex and stream it from your house back to yourself. So that might be one workaround for that. But you don't get all those things. And yes, Dustin, that is exactly what we're doing right now, is a step-by-step video. And I think what I'm going to do is run upstairs and get my other computer. And I will do a quick edit here on this. So let me get these things ready to export. And I'll get my drive and copy those things over. And we'll edit this video and upload it, and then I will call it a night, because I got to get back to work tomorrow and continue onward making videos for all of you. So I'm off screen right now because I'm over at my big edit computer, and I'm going to pop out my drive. And let me quit this, and that will be that. All right, so let's go eject this and this. All right, so we're going to now plug in my external hard drive into Mr. TriCaster, and then we're going to dump these files out. One of the cool things about the TriCaster is that it is very good at multitasking. So you could actually be uploading stuff like snippets to YouTube while you're still doing a live broadcast and whatnot. It's pretty cool how that works. So I'm going to go to my export media, make sure that is good to go. We're going to export all of these. And I'm going to run upstairs and get my Mac real quick and start editing this so you can see what it's like to edit a video here on the channel. And I will be right back with that. So All right, I am back, and we're going to use the bigger Mac here to do the editing. So I have edited video on the little Mac here, but it is not as smooth of an experience. So exporting in particular takes a long time. So we're going to swap this out real quick. And I'll move this one over here so I can see all of you. By the way, I still have I'm actually going to hang on to this thing. This is the Surface Go. I really like this. So I usually keep a couple of Windows computers around, of course, because Windows is still a very important part of what we do here. And I really like the Surface Go. I think it's a nice little Windows computer. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on the weekly wrap-up because it's apparently getting very mixed reviews. And what's so funny about this is that I often look at reviews based on, or how I evaluate things often is how is it being sold to me is one of the things that I think about. And what I like about the Surface Go is that they didn't oversell it. Like it wasn't this thing that's going to replace your laptop, because that was what they were talking about with the Surface 3, which I thought was not terribly accurate. I mean, it was a nice computer, but it was not as fast as it could have been. But I like the Surface Go because it is really flexible and really useful. Because we do use Windows here for a lot of stuff. All right, so let's backdrop that. And I'm going to start purging. I have so many extra things around. I just got to get rid of stuff. So we're going to look for this on the store. We're going to be getting some stuff out of here. So keep an eye on the store. So I think I might actually sell my Xiaomi 13-inch laptop because I haven't been using it all that much. All right, so let's go. D-Bets wants to know if I prefer editing on the Mac. Yeah, I really do. And the reason is that I've been using Final Cut Pro for a long time. And it's very efficient for me, and you'll see that efficiency when we start editing here. Because it's a lot like iMovie, and that was one of the knocks against it, but I liked iMovie. So, but I have found it to be incredibly fast. It's easy to move projects around, so you'll see when I load up, I'll show you how this all works in a second when I'm waiting for my files to finish copying off the TriCaster, how all this works. So I tried Premiere. I was like, maybe I could get into Premiere because then it'd be cheaper to add workstations. So one of the issues that I ran into with when Corey started was that I had to get him a Mac so he could edit the videos that I'm working on. And I gave him, or he's using, I didn't give them to him, he's using my 2012 MacBook Retina, which was the first Retina MacBook that came out 6 years ago. And it handles 1080p video just fine. But I'm starting to shoot B-roll with my phone and with my other cameras at 4K. And 4K just kills it. It just is like done. So at some point when they come up with faster GPUs for the MacBook Pros, this is the one from 2015. Gosh, this one's almost 3 years old already. I'll probably give him this one, and then I'll put that other one out to pasture. But that computer is 6 years old. It has been a workhorse forever, and it's still functioning just fine. So it's been really, really good. All right, how's the stream working for everybody tonight? Is it buffering at all on you? Let me know. Okay, so we are done copying. So I am going to eject the disk, and I'm going to show you this crazy workflow that we have here. So one of the cool things with how the TriCaster records video, so we're going to eject this. Oh, wrong one, this one, okay, is that I don't have to transcode the video when I bring it in. And this is a huge thing. So I'll show you exactly what I'm doing here. So I have 2 drives, and the reason why I have 2 drives, and I'll cut over to this one. So I have this drive, which is what we copied off the TriCaster. This is just a Seagate solid-state drive that it's made for Xboxes, but it works fine as an external hard drive anyhow. And we're going to put this in right over here. Looks like our stream is starting to die out again. Thank you, Comcast. So we're going to pop that in there. And then I have my little SSD here hooked up. And that's there. So now what I'm going to do is just go into my Finder. And what I'm going to do is load up It looks like we're going to be getting some buffering here. I'm going to load up my library file off the disk here. So let me give you a better view of this here. So here is this little solid state drive here, little terabyte. I'm reviewing this one next week, by the way. We use these little external SSDs. I got a bunch of different brands, Samsung, SanDisk, you name it. Let's see, what is I was looking to see what some of these comments were here. I'll get to those in a minute. So we use these little portable SSDs because they are as fast as a RAID array, but they're portable and completely solid state. And SanDisk has some great ones. WD has one, which is now part of SanDisk, or the other way around. And I have a Samsung collection too. All right, so we're going to go over here to my project file. This is loading up off the SSD. And what I do here is create a new event. And we're going to call this HDHomerun Premium TV update. And then we have a new thing here. And what I'm going to do is just go back to my Finder. And I've got the Seagate SSD here. Now the reason why I have two drives here is because the TriCaster uses NTFS. And I have to edit with Mac, the Mac file system. So what that means is that I've got to either copy the files over or use them as references. Because I can read off this disk, I'm just going to not copy them and just have them reference on the drive. So I can read them just fine off of here, but I have to use a Mac formatted drive for the edit project here. So these are the files that it recorded. And you can see that it's got a, let me get you into a better view here. You can see that little arrow there indicates that it is just going to drop in a reference to them. So these files are not being copied over. They're still on that Xbox drive as I'm working on them. And I'm going to have the output be my internal speakers just so I can hear it. And let me turn it up so you'll probably be able to hear it over my microphone here. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back with the HDHomerun Premium TV service. We covered this a couple of days ago. So we know what I'm supposed to do now and see how we can get Plex working with our Premium TV service. And I'm going to hit O for out. So I've got an in and an out here. Just drop it down. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. And I got a little bit of a breath there, so we're going to zoom in a little bit and just knock that out a little bit there. And a little bit more, there we go. And just kind of bring it in like that. And zoom back out again to the end. Now and see how we can get Plex working with our Premium TV service. Okay, so that's a good break there. Here's the next clip. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. So here we are on the Plex settings. What we're doing is, and now remember here we cut it off a little bit, so I got to make sure I find the clean cut here. So sure if this might be one of those digital sideband channels. So you have to kind of go through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now, but I know. Okay, so there. Through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now, but I know. Okay, so hit out right there. Let's see how that looks. Plex working with our Premium TV service. All right, so hear that one. So I got a little, didn't get nothing. So I'm just going to go like this. TV service. So here we are on the Plex setting. And I was a little too quick, so I'm going to a little bit there. And then I'm hitting the little caret here. One of the cool things, and this is probably the case in Premiere also, they have these keyboard shortcuts that are really quick. So service. So here we Premium TV service. So here we it's a little bit too long there. Premium TV service. So here we are on the Plex settings, and I'm over on the okay, there we go. All right. Sideband channels. So you have to kind of go through and just make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now. All right, so that's a good cut, a good break there, and then 3, 2, 1. But I do know where Ion is located on my background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like. All right, so do that. Boom. And you can see just how quick this workflow is. And this is the case with all of my reviews, because what happens is that all these cuts back and forth, all of the B-roll shots, I'm doing it all in real time. And you can screw it up by maybe having the camera on the wrong thing, you know, so there is that potential. I don't do this, but the TriCaster can record everything going in independently. So I could, if I wanted to, actually record every camera independently just as a backup. And a lot of people do that, obviously, for you know, for different reasons there.
Channels are, and I'm not sure if this might be one of those.
All right, so let me go in a little bit here.
But I do disable this one for now. But I do know where.
All right, I can do a little bit.
What? I'm just going to disable this one for now. But I do know where.
Okay, so you hear that little bit at the end there. So I'm going to kind of blend this a little bit better. So, oops.
And for now, but I do know.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds good. So listen to that again.
One for now, but I do know where.
So that flowed nicely. Okay, so you see how, what I do there is I'm often, and I'm going back to that recording and saying, all right, where can I stop this and then pick up from that point? And that's what I.
This one for now, but I do know where Ion is located on my lineup, so that one will be an easy match here. So I'm going to click on 26.1 and then go over to channel 20 on my cable system. And again, we're basically kind of fooling Plex into thinking we have a regular thing and creating a new guide. So we're going to let that run in the background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like.
Okay.
Background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like.
All right, so we're good there.
3, 2, 1. So here we are inside of Plex, and 3, 2, 1. So here we are inside of Plex and looking at the channel guide, and I want to draw.
So Revenant asked about 5.1 channel sound, if it works on the premium service. I read on their forums today that it does, so it passes through whatever audio it's getting. I haven't tested that myself, though, but I believe it does. By the way, the forums are a really good resource. Nick Kelsey, who's the lead engineer and co-founder of the company, is in there all the time. Engaging with customers, so definitely check it out. But he did say that 5.1 is supported.
And when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like.
All right, so we'll cut there, and then this is the next one.
Air channel, everything should work fine. The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go.
All right.
Air channel, everything should work fine. The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go.
All right, so. Bring that down there.
When it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like. So here we are.
There's a bit of a pause there, so we'll just shorten that up.
In the background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like. So here we are inside of Plex and looking at the channel guide, and I want to draw your attention. Let me get you a better view here. Draw your attention to Lon.TV, because you remember this is one of the channels that we mapped from the what you do here is you got to go into that setting there and make all of these adjustments, get all these channels mapped up, and then once you're done, you're done. Plex will think you're connected to cable, but again, so long as you
this thing's running like 9 minutes,
over-the-air broadcast to what your cable channel has,
almost there.
That over-the-air channel, everything should work fine. The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go.
All right, so let's see how much more I have to work with here. Okay, so I'm going to go right to there.
The guide data should come in appropriately, and you're good to go.
All right, good. And there's the end.
3, 2, 1. Now you can go back.
Thank you, David Reed, for your contribution. Much appreciated.
This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
All right. Now, the reason why I edit and shoot this way is because when I had a full-time job and I didn't have a lot of time, it was quicker to do edits like this where I can just drop stuff in. Because really, you can see here, like I'm sure you've seen some other YouTubers to show you their edit screens. There is nothing here. It's just clips strung together. That's it. That's all it is. And that's what's so great about this workflow is that because everything is edited. That's a horrible face there. Everything is pretty much recorded live to disk. There's no need to do anything else. So your editing is actually done at the time you shoot the video. And it limits you in some ways because you can't. I guess I could use fancier cameras if I wanted to go that route, but it does kind of make it be more of a video look. So I know a lot of folks out there are doing those really nice looking SLR film looks to their videos. Marcus Brownlee's stuff is just amazing. But for me, I'm about volume, trying to get out as many videos as I can, and it's a lot easier or a lot quicker, more efficient perhaps, to go and do this and get this out there. One of the challenges that I ran into with this was that the TriCaster really tends to stick to 1080i and 720p resolutions and interlacing because typically broadcast is either 720p or 1080i at the moment. So it does support 30p, which is what I'm using now, but I had to buy very specific cameras for it because most camcorders on the market that output HDMI do it at 1080i, and I was getting all these jaggedy lines and everything when I was exporting. So now I shoot at 30p with cameras that can output at 30p. It did limit my choices. And this week, it's over there, you may have all seen it a few times, I'll get a shot of it here. Next week, we're going to be looking at this camera. Let's get source 8 up for you all here. This thing right here, which is a pan-tilt zoom camera. And this camera does support 1080p 30 out the HDMI, which is great. And if I knew about this camera at the time that I bought the other ones that I've got here, I would have chosen to get that one versus these because these are okay, but they're not as good. The optics on this one are a little better. This one also supports NDI, which is incidentally the same technology I'm using to get you my cell phone imagery here as I'm talking. And what's cool about NDI is just what you just saw here. I can hit a button and it just kind of ingests HD video into master control here. I had it outputting a lower resolution on the phone, which is why it didn't look so great. But we've been doing a lot with NDI here in the studio. You probably didn't even know we were using it. Basically taking these cameras, plugging them into the network, and it gets us right into the TriCaster and out to you. It just, again, makes everything more efficient. And what's really neat about that camera is that it can run over power over Ethernet. So in addition to getting control for the camera back and forth via the Ethernet, in addition to the video itself coming in over the Ethernet, it also can have power going in over the Ethernet. So you just have one cable to plug it in. And I get a lot of people who watch my production videos who are working at churches and synagogues and mosques where they're trying to broadcast sermons, and this is the kind of stuff that really sells quite heavily to those markets, to the worship markets, because they're always live streaming, and it's a huge market for that. And this gives you a really professional look with very little installation headaches. You have to pay a little bit for it. It's not cheap, but it is pretty cool. All right, so let's do one last glance over at this thing real quick here.
Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're back with the HDHomerun Premium TV service. We covered this a couple of days ago in this video, and no one has reviewed or approved this before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see how we can get Plex working with our Premium TV service. So here we are on the Plex settings. The service is that you do have to delete your DVR as far as I can. Okay. And if you want it over the air, you bought the over-the-air antenna. And Plex doesn't really know how to separate the two things or bifurcate them into this one guide here. So this is why we have to do this. So we're going to delete the DVR.
Bifurcate was probably not the right word, but that's close enough. All right.
DVR. And now we're going to basically just start over again. So I'm going to say set up Plex DVR. It found my tuner here. I'm going to click on continue. Ion Life is make sure you know what channel matches up with what. I'm just going to disable this one for now. But I do know where Ion is initializing and creating a new guide. So we're going to let that run in the background, and when it's done, we'll come back and see what this looks like. So here we are inside of Plex, and look, the air broadcast to what your cable channel has.
I can't believe this ended up being 10 minutes long.
Everything should work fine.
You know, it's funny, I thought this was going to be like a really quick thing, but it's 10 minutes. Everything I do is always 10 minutes or more.
Channel guide later, as I mentioned, so what you are currently on will continue to work, and you'll get the best of both worlds, both over the air and cable broadcasts. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
So Tim S., what time zone are you in? Because that is something I talked to them about the other day. So what's happening here is that they are getting a single East Coast feed for this service, from what I understand. And if you're on the West Coast, they are delaying it by 3 hours for you. So you get, on the West Coast, the East Coast feed at the West Coast time. On the East Coast, you get the East Coast time, obviously. But if you're in the middle, in Central or Mountain Time, then you will be off. So that's something to keep in mind, is that they do not have a Central and Mountain time zone for this. They have West Coast and East Coast, and they are delaying the other one by 3 hours. Oh, he's in Eastern. That's weird. It shouldn't. You know, you should go to the forum, Tim, and ask them that, because maybe they're detecting you in the wrong place. That could be, because I think what they're doing is detecting where that person is located to determine whether or not to delay it. So you might want to contact support about that, because it's been fine for me. I've been getting the time. The time's been correct on my end, And they're, again, this is like the first couple days of the service, so I'm sure they'd want to hear about that. All right, so a couple things left to do on the video here. We have my end cap. So I update this usually the first week of the month, and this is all of the supporters. So you can see what that looks like. So all the gold supporters and all of you who contribute. And by the way, all the super chatters show up here as well. So if you super chat me, you get to be part of the credit roll too. All right, so we're going to finish that and drop this end cap in. And one of the cool things about Final Cut is that they have this thing called the compound clip, which is what this is. So I can go in and change anything on here. And if I had 75 videos all working with this same end cap, they will all change automatically. It's kind of a nested edit. It is really cool. That's, again, one of the great things about Final Cut Pro is that you have the ability to basically have an entire edit project here show up as a thing you can drop on the timeline. I think Premiere lets you do this too through the sequences. I can't remember if that's the case or not. But all right, so now the other thing I have to do is put the opener in. So what I do for that is I put in a solid, and it's just this black here, and I'm just going to go to 1 second and 23 frames. All right, there we go. And I'm going to take my graphic, put that on here. So this is how that thing goes, and you can see it.
Hey everybody.
Now, there's no music yet, right? Because we have to remember to drop the music in. So I have music here and there, and just boost that up a little bit. And there we go. I've been running my audio a little louder lately, so
Lon.TV. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV.
All right, there we go. And I'm hearing more fan noise in the background now when I do this stuff, so.
Get Plex working with our Premium TV service. So here we are on the Plex settings, and I'm over on the live TV and DVR. You're going to.
Good. All right, so we're good to go. Now, usually what I do is I drop markers in the video to kind of direct people to where things are. And what I do there is just hit M, and it drops the marker in, and you can see it's got these markers on the side. And then I've got an app called Producer's Best Friend. I think I covered this on a wrap-up video a while back. And what it can do for me is actually drop all of the time codes into a spreadsheet that I can then use to put that video index into my videos. And that saved a lot of time also, because I used to have to like make all these markers after the fact. So now while I'm editing, I just put a marker in and I can export all of them and get the timestamps done. But this one is kind of a how-to, so we're just going to let that one flow. All right, so we're done with this, and now I'm going to export it. And I just usually do this master file from Final Cut directly. It's a faster way to export it. I'm sure there's better quality options out there, but again, I shoot for volume here, so we're probably good with that. We'll call this how-to Plex HDHomerun Premium TV. Hit save, and then we have to wait for it to export, so that'll take a little bit of time. So that's it. So that is my workflow. You actually saw an entire video get made here from start to finish, so I probably took a little bit longer because I was chatting with all of you as I was going here, but that's usually what I do. I sit down in the chair, get everything set up, and try to get as much recorded in real time as I possibly can. And then when I'm done, I drop it into Final Cut Pro, export it, and off we go. It's a pretty fast process as to how all that works. And I would love to get your opinions of the stream tonight too, as far as how the video quality's been. We've been struggling with streaming here because we just do not have consistent upstream performance from Comcast. And I've called them about it, and you know, I just don't know what the answer is to this. Because I'm looking at the feed coming back into me right now. Oh, I see. Okay, so I was just on the wrong resolution. Okay. Mine was like dropping down to 144p. Yikes. So that was kind of crazy. So let me go over to live chat. Oh, I see. So you know what? I was not seeing all the chat as they were coming in. Yeah, I think there was like one period where we had a couple of drops as we went. And I'm trying to really keep it at like 2 megabits upstream. So I'm not even pushing the envelope here. And you know, I think what could be happening too is that you know, we have iPads and iPhones in the house, and anytime you take a video, so if my wife is taking a video with the kids or something, if it's on Wi-Fi, it uploads it. So that might have some role to play too. or if she plugs her phone in at the end of the day, 'cause it's getting to be almost bedtime here, so the phone's back up at night, right? And that'll eat up some of the upstream. So what I did do is I have my streaming encoding box. I have that as a high priority item with the router to see if maybe that helps. So see how that works out. And some days it works fine, and other days it just doesn't work at all. So I gotta just keep playing with it. The other thing I want to do, and the reason why I'm using a separate box versus the TriCaster is that for some reason the TriCaster hasn't been uploading to YouTube for some reason. So I don't know, or streaming to YouTube. I gotta deal with some settings on that, and it's a couple updates behind, so I gotta do all that. So, but the video is now exported. There you go. So what I want to do now is upload this to YouTube. So I think I'll stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes. We'll take some questions, and then I will log off because I have to upload the video. That's going to take a little bit. The final output of the file, in case you're curious, is 1.3 gigabytes because it's about 10 minutes long. That's what we ended up with. Yes, Big Trucker's talking about New York kicked out Spectrum. And, you know, I talked about this in a weekly wrap-up video. We in Connecticut used to have the power to do that, and the legislature basically turned that power off, which is killer. I was on a local committee that would evaluate Comcast for, you know, we didn't have the authority to say yay or nay, but we had the ability to be a very influential voice in that because we were a government entity, and these entities still exist. They're called the cable television, what do they call them? Cable television advisory councils. And they were set up because the legislature was getting so many complaints about cable service that they created these local community boards to deal with them. So the legislator could say, call your cable advisory council, they'll handle it for you. And what happened was I think it was like every 10 or 13 years, Comcast would have to apply to the state for the right to continue offering service to the communities. And what happened was probably about 10 years ago, 10 or 15, something like that, in the early aughts, the early 2000s, the local phone company started pushing out their own internet and cable service, and they were directly competing with Comcast. And when that happened, what Comcast did is they said, okay, this is what they pitched to the legislature. Anytime they get into one of our franchise areas, we want to no longer have to apply for a franchise because we have competition now, and the free market would surely make things better. So what they ended up doing was the second the phone company entered into any neighborhood inside a franchise area, then the entire franchise was no longer under that scrutiny. And so the franchise area where I am incorporates, I think, about 15 towns. It goes from southern Connecticut halfway up to Hartford on the Connecticut River. So it's a very large area. And the phone company did not roll out this service very far. They went into a number of neighborhoods in a few of the towns, but not really anywhere near the full percentage of the whole franchise area that Comcast had. Then the phone company got gobbled up by SBC, and then SBC got gobbled up by AT&T. And then AT&T sold the entire landline business to this company called Frontier, who has done nothing, I mean, literally nothing in the state since they took this over almost 10 years ago. So as a result, there's no competition, and it just stinks. So I bitch about it every time I do one of these streams. Yeah, Frontier what happened with Frontier is that they just went up and bought up every phone company they could, and they went into tremendous debt doing that. And I'm surprised their shareholders let them spend money this crazily. I mean, it's ridiculous. They just took over everything. And the transition here was not smooth. When they took over, it was like one of those turn the switch days, and the day they took over, everything just, like, the internet didn't work right for people for weeks after that. So it was pretty bad. And I complain about Comcast. I actually have good service most of the time, minus the upload issues. That's been my biggest gripe with them, is the upload speeds have been really tough. The node, this is what really kills me, is that fiber optic cable is at the end of my driveway. And I know it's at the end of my driveway because there's a big orange tag on the wire on the pole that says, warning, fiber optic cable. It goes into one of these node boxes that convert the fiber to coax for the last couple hundred feet to me and my neighbors. But I am on node almost by myself. I think my neighbors in back have a connection also, but it's a really good connection most of the time. But it's just, this slow speed is just bad. Yeah, and then the good news is in Connecticut for Comcast is that they are not imposing the caps, data caps here. I interviewed them for this gig thing when they rolled it out for a local publication I wrote for, and I was convinced that the net neutrality thing would bring the caps everywhere, and they haven't rolled them out here for some reason, so it's good. But it's crazy. My kids consume more data than I do, believe it or not, because they just leave YouTube and Amazon and all the other stuff is running all the time, so it's crazy. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm actually optimistic on a few levels because the 5G service is starting to become a thing. That is going to not only be for your phone, but they're also going to be doing these short hop, last mile, last 100 feet kind of things to the poles. And I think there's hope for some competitiveness. So I'm hoping that'll happen there. Yes, a big trucker said it was about $12K to get fiber installed. Yeah, they did say I could get fiber from Comcast through the business thing, but it was going to be like $700 or $800 a month, which is just not feasible. I mean, if I was streaming, if I was streaming all the time, if streaming was my primary objective, then I would probably do that. But streaming is a secondary pursuit for me at the moment. So at some point, I'll do more. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do here, folks, is sign off because I want to get these videos uploaded, or this video uploaded, so that people can see what that's all about. And you all saw it as I recorded it, so hopefully it made sense to everybody. We'll see how it goes when it uploads. But right now, it's a little bit crazy to get Plex going, but I think they'll get that worked out. And also, Mystery Me says they probably haven't rolled out the caps because they are battling Fios in the Northeast. And actually, I think there is a part of Connecticut that has Fios and Comcast in the same thing there. So, yeah, and John Ellis says somebody has the fiber for business. Yeah, it does cost a lot. Yeah, they were offering gigabit over fiber to me at my old job, but we just didn't need it. Singapore has fiber to the home for free. Wow. Well, you know, part of what happens too is that, and this is one of the things that people often forget about the United States, is that we are a very sparsely populated place in many parts of the country. So, you know, if you're in New York City, obviously it's very dense population. You can, there's a lot of people that can buy services there. Where I am, there's very few customers per mile of wire. So it costs Comcast more to provide me service than it does an individual in New York City, because there's just an economy of scale when you have a lot of people in one place versus where I am. We have 2-acre subdivisions, so there's just not a lot of homes to service. And it's even tougher because I am out in the woods. All my neighbors and I are all out in the woods, so it's not near any kind of major metropolitan area. So there are a few smaller ISPs that are starting to wire up places here and there. There's one that just is getting started in a suburb of Hartford that is looking like they're getting gigabit symmetrical service going there. So there's hope. But it's hard for these companies to get all this infrastructure installed, and that's the tough thing. Big Trucker also mentioned about the poles. Yeah, there's the attachment policies are also complex, and that contributes to this also. So in my state, the poles are owned by either the power company or the phone company, and they can make the ISP's life miserable trying to get these poles attached. So that's how that's going there. Take a couple more questions here. Fahad wants to know if I'm getting any issues, bugs on Plex server with NVIDIA Shield. It's funny. I get a lot of people who want to run Plex as a server on their Shield, and even when I did the video initially, I didn't recommend it. I feel like the Shield's powerful, but it's not really designed, in my opinion, to be a server and a client. And I think people run into issues perhaps with something running in the background, apps updating, whatever goes on there. There's not a lot of margin for things to go on there. So if you're transcoding video and streaming something to a TV and recording at the same time, I think the Shield is maybe 3 gigs of RAM on board, so it's not the best suited thing for that. I really recommend getting, for Plex in particular, if you're really going to do it right, either have a PC that you can dedicate to the task. We did find that those little NUCs from Intel do a good job of that. Or get a network-attached storage device with an Intel processor that supports QuickSync. And those really are the best way to go because they really work well. I have a PR2100 from WD in my closet that just works awesome. I mean, it is just flawless. And that actually is running my HDHomerun DVR server. I've got Plex running on that. Again, I've been streaming outside the house with Plex all the time. It just always works, and it is very reliable. It's been great. Synologies also are really good too. So you can get a Synology, a QNAP. There's some good choices out there for NAS devices. Mike Feltzer loves the HDHomerun device, Channels app. Yeah, one of the things with HDHomerun is gotten a lot better over the years as far as getting it configured. Because when I first got it, you had to install software on Windows. You had to go through this whole channel discovery process. It was not intuitive or as intuitive as it could be. Now, from my understanding is, if you buy one of the boxes, you plug it into your antenna, put it on your network, it will just work. Like you'll wait about 5 or 10 minutes, turn on your iPad, download the app, and boop, there it is. Your TV is ready to go. So it's gotten a lot more seamless for the user as these devices have improved. So they've made a lot of progress on it. And what's nice is that you might spend a little time setting it up, but once you set it up, you're done, and you can run with it. So I spent a good amount of time 4 or 5 years ago now getting it set up initially, and then that was it. I never had to touch it again. And I did do a redo of my entire setup about 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, when I switched over to running the NAS as my server exclusively and using HDHomerun DVR and everything for cable TV watching. And it's been fine ever since. Haven't had to do a thing. I just updated the DVR application today. That's all I've done, really. It's just updates. It's been pretty good. Let's see what we've got here. So David Martin, Mocha's different than, Mocha's not a 4G technology. It's just an in-home extension technology. So you have to have a connection already. I don't think they recommend using HDHomerun over those connections, over 4G connections. But what you could do is use Plex as your streaming device. So what will happen is you can have Plex determine the best bandwidth for the connection that you're trying to do. That usually works. Let's see. Fahad is just following up with his thing about Plex on Shield. I think too fancy because the bug started showing off with, yeah, it's, this Android 8 has been a little bit of a change for folks, and I think there might be some of that. I haven't really I don't use my Shield as a server, so the client's working fine for me, but I am, the more I use it, the more I don't like the new Oreo interface because I've always been an apps guy, and now the interface is so much focused on content. The apps are never where I want them to be, so, oh, what happened? My stream went out.